The ocean breeze that morning carried the kind of silence that usually comes before a storm, before the cracks started to appear. 3 days. Just 3 more days until my son's wedding. I'd spent months perfecting every corner of this house, every candle, every ribbon, every flower, for this one moment. For him. Behind me, I heard it. That laugh. His laugh. Harrison. The man I'd built a home with. The man I thought I knew like the tide that kissed these shores every morning. "Morning, love," he said as he walked out, sunlight hitting his sharp jawline like it always did in the magazines. He pressed a kiss to my temple as if it still meant something. I smiled, though my heart no longer believed in pretty gestures. He leaned against the railing, coffee mug in hand. I invited Adelina. My fingers froze around the porcelain cup. His ex-wife. The one woman whose name had lived in the shadows of our marriage like a ghost no one dared to speak of. I swallowed the burn in my throat. Why? He sipped his coffee. Calm. Too calm. She knows Rebecca's family. It'll make things easier. We're all adults here, aren't we? Adults. The word felt like a cheap disguise. But I tilted my head, smiled the way good wives are supposed to, and whispered, "Of course." That night, when his breathing evened beside me, I stared at the ceiling. Memories I thought I'd buried clawed their way back. The way his eyes used to light up at the sound of her name, the way I had learned to live with it, pretending it didn't cut me open. But ghosts, they always find their way home. The estate came alive the next morning. Planners ran around with earpieces. Decorators climbed ladders, hanging ivory drapes. Rebecca, my future daughter-in-law, bubbled with excitement. She had no idea that under the gold chandeliers, secrets were already bleeding through the walls. Then the black sedan rolled up the driveway. She stepped out. Adelina, the storm dressed in silk. Her platinum hair curled over her shoulders, rose lipstick soft against her porcelain skin, and that perfume, the one I'd washed off Harrison's collars years ago. "Milo," she said with a warm smile that wasn't warm at all, "you've kept the house beautiful. Just like old times, Harrison, isn't it?" And Harrison laughed, like it was old times. I extended my hand. "Welcome, Adelina." Her fingers were cold, mine were steady. That evening, over a long dinner table dressed in magnolias, I watched something I hadn't seen in years, Harrison's real smile. The one he used to save for me. They spoke in unfinished sentences, laughed at private jokes from a life I was never part of. Rebecca chatted beside me about the dress, the cake, the vows. My son, glowing with love, didn't notice a thing. But I noticed everything. Adelina tilted her head. "Remember Paris?" And Harrison's eyes softened. "How could I forget?" I raised my wine glass, hiding the earthquake inside my chest. It wasn't jealousy. It was recognition. That smile had never really belonged to me. Later that night, I walked to the balcony, letting the wind swallow me. Through the glass, I saw them. Harrison and Adelina, standing close in the living room, not touching, but close enough that air itself bent around them. His hand brushed her arm, a soft, practiced gesture, a gesture he'd never learned with me. I returned to our bedroom like nothing had happened, kissed him good night. Listened to the steady beat of a man who thought his secrets were safe. They weren't. Not anymore. The next day, I found what I wasn't supposed to. I'd gone to his study to grab the seating chart. The door was half open. "Don't say things like that," Harrison's voice murmured. Adelina's laugh floated through the speaker. Low, intimate, dangerous. "Then hang up, Harrison." My pulse pounded against my ribs. He didn't hear me standing there. When he finally walked out, he jumped slightly. "Oh, you scared me." "Who were you talking to?" "A vendor," he lied smoothly. like breathing. I glanced at the glowing phone screen behind him. AC wedding planner, of course. Hours later, when the house was quiet, I picked up his phone from the nightstand. Nothing in recent calls, no texts, but in the contacts, there it was. AC wedding planner, no Adelina. No trace, just a clean, clever disguise. Harrison hummed while making coffee, the hum of a man who believed he was untouchable. I smiled, so gently, so sweetly. But inside, a storm was gathering, and this time, I was the one holding the match. The house slept under a curtain of moonlight that night, but I couldn't. Every creak of the wooden floor sounded like the past moving through the walls. Harrison had gone to bed early, claiming exhaustion, yet I'd heard him whispering into his phone again, the same low, careful tone he used when he thought I wasn't listening. I waited, 15 minutes, 20, before his breathing settled into the steady rhythm of sleep. I slipped out of bed. The hallway stretched ahead like a tunnel of ghosts. Our wedding photos stared back at me from the walls, two perfect smiles that didn't exist anymore. Downstairs, the study door was ajar. A faint light glowed from inside. I stepped in silently. The air smelled of whiskey and old paper. Harrison's desk was a battlefield of files, invitations, and a single phone lying face down. I reached for it, then froze. Soft footsteps behind me. I turned. Adelina. She stood in the doorway wearing a satin robe, eyes widening as if she'd seen a reflection she didn't expect. Neither of us spoke at first. Only the clock ticked between us. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice low. "I could ask you the same," she said. Her tone wasn't defensive, more curious. I noticed the shimmer of her wedding ring necklace resting against her throat. Harrison's old ring. She'd kept it. "I came to leave a note for Harrison," she added. "Nothing secret." I smiled, the way women do when they already know the truth. "Of course, nothing secret." She tilted her head. "You don't believe me." "I used to," I whispered. For a long moment we stood there, two women orbiting the same man, bound by lies dressed as love. Then she stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You think you know him, Milo? But you don't." "And you do?" Her lips curved. "Better than you'd like." Before I could answer, a shadow filled the doorway. Harrison. "Everything okay in here?" His eyes darted between us, calm but alert. Adelina's mask slipped back on instantly. "We were just talking about the seating chart," she said smoothly. I forced a nod. Couldn't sleep. He smiled like a man who believed every word spoken around him. "You two are unbelievable," he joked, then placed a hand on Adelina's shoulder. Just a friendly touch, but it burned through me. When she left, he turned back. "You're imagining things again, Milo. Don't ruin this week." Imagining. The word lingered long after he walked away. By morning, the air between us had thickened. The staff moved through the house with nervous smiles, sensing the shift. At breakfast, Harrison scrolled his phone while I stirred my coffee until it went cold. A text flashed across his screen. AC. "Same time tonight?" He tilted the screen away, unaware that the reflection in the silver toaster had already betrayed him. I said nothing. Yet. Instead, I began my own game. That afternoon, I called the planner's office. "This is Milo Crown," I said politely. "Could you connect me to Ms. AC?" A pause. "I'm sorry, ma'am, there's no one here by those initials." "Are you sure?" "Yes. Only an Adelina Caro works under your husband's account." Her full name hit like a hammer. Adelina Caro. Of course. I ended the call quietly. Then I looked out at the ocean, its waves turning violent under the gray sky. A storm was rolling in, both outside and inside this house. That night, the mansion glowed under lanterns and rain-streaked windows. Guests were due to arrive in a day. Harrison left his room around 11 p.m., dressed too well for a man checking security. I followed, barefoot, silent. He walked into his office, the same room where I'd stood the night before, only this time the door clicked shut behind him. I waited outside until voices drifted through the crack. Adelina's, soft, breathless. "You said it would just be us tonight, Harrison." "It is, for now." My pulse pounded in my ears, a rustle, the sound of glass clinking, then silence. I pushed the door open, just enough to see. Her hand rested on his chest, his on her waist, their faces inches apart. I didn't gasp, didn't cry. I just watched, memorizing. Then, when Harrison leaned in to kiss her, the thunder outside cracked like the sky itself couldn't bear the lie anymore. They both startled, pulling apart. Lights flickered. I stepped inside fully this time. "Don't stop on my account," I said softly. Their faces turned pale. "Milo," Harrison began. "This isn't real," I finished. "Oh, I know, just like your wedding vows." The silence that followed was the kind that ruins people. I walked past them, poured myself a drink, and whispered, "Tomorrow's rehearsal dinner should be unforgettable." Then I left them standing there, two ghosts trapped in the same lie. Back in my room, lightning split the horizon. My reflection in the mirror didn't look broken. It looked ready. I had evidence now, proof. But revenge needed timing, and the wedding day would give me the biggest stage of all. For years, I'd been the quiet wife who fixed everyone else's mess. Now, I'd be the woman who made sure the whole world saw theirs. The storm outside roared louder, and somewhere down the hall, Harrison's phone began to ring. The caller ID glowed through the darkness. AC Wedding Planner. This time, I answered. "He can't talk right now," I whispered. "But don't worry, Adelina. You'll see him tomorrow." And I hung up. The morning after the storm, the world looked clean, too clean. Sunlight poured across the marble floors like nothing had happened, like the night before hadn't torn through everything I believed in. Harrison kissed my cheek at breakfast. His lips trembled just slightly. Adelina avoided my eyes. The house buzzed with final preparations for the rehearsal dinner. Guests would arrive by sunset. The whole city's social circle, the photographers, the board members, the perfect strangers who lived for someone else's scandal, were coming. I'd spent years making sure no one ever saw a crack in our life. Tonight, I would make sure everyone did. By noon, florists filled the ballroom with orchids. Strings tuned their instruments. The ocean shimmered outside like glass, hiding the rip current below. I stood at the center of it all, clipboard in hand, pretending to be the flawless hostess. The staff called me Mrs. Crown. They didn't see the woman counting hours until the show began. In my pocket was a small flash drive, one that contained a recording from last night. The security cameras had caught everything. Harrison's hand on Adelina's waist, the whispered confession, the kiss that followed. One file. That's all it took to burn down 20 years of lies. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. At 4 p.m., Harrison walked in, suited, smiling, carrying his favorite bottle of wine like nothing could touch him. "Milo," he said softly. "About last night," I didn't let him finish. "We have guests arriving in an hour. Let's not ruin the evening." He hesitated. For a second, I saw guilt. Then it vanished, replaced by that same rehearsed charm that used to fool me. He kissed my hand and walked away. I wiped my palm against my dress. The rehearsal dinner began as the sun sank into the Atlantic. The estate glowed with gold lights and the hum of violins. Rebecca looked radiant, laughing beside my son. Everyone toasted love, family, forever. And I smiled through it all. Adelina sat opposite me at the long glass table, draped in silver silk, the picture of composure. Harrison sat between us, caught between two versions of his past. Every now and then their eyes met. Tiny flashes of memory, guilt, longing. Each one was another match against dry wood. When the first toast ended, I stood. "Before dessert," I said lightly, "I thought it might be nice to share a little video I prepared for my son and his bride. A memory reel of love, family, and truth." Harrison's head snapped toward me. Adelina froze. The lights dimmed. The projector hummed. The first images were harmless. Baby photos, birthdays, laughter. Guests cooed and smiled. Harrison exhaled in relief. Then the screen flickered. The angle shifted. To his office. To last night. Gasps rippled through the room. Adelina's voice echoed through the speakers. "You said it would just be us tonight." Harrison's reply followed, low and unmistakable. "It is. For now." Then the kiss, soft, lingering, damning. The ballroom turned silent. Forks dropped, champagne glasses trembled. Rebecca covered her mouth. My son's face drained of color. Harrison stood, pale, stammering. "Milo, turn it off!" I raised a hand. "Let them finish watching." Adelina bolted from her seat, heels clattering against the marble. The door slammed behind her. Harrison turned to me, eyes wild. "You don't know what you've done," I smiled faintly. "Oh, I do. I gave them the truth you kept hiding." He lunged toward the projector, yanking the plug. Darkness swallowed the room. In the silence, someone sobbed. Someone else whispered my name. But I just stood there, calm, steady, free. Later, after the guests scattered like frightened birds, I found Harrison on the balcony overlooking the black water. The storm had returned. Lightning flashed far out at sea. He didn't turn as I approached. "You destroyed me," he said quietly. "No," I whispered. "You destroyed yourself. I just showed everyone the wreckage." He turned then, eyes glassy. "You could have walked away, Milo." I almost laughed. "And let you marry lies into another generation? Not my son." The thunder rolled closer. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he stepped forward, voice breaking. "You still love me." I met his gaze, steady as the tide. "I used to, before you became a stranger wearing my husband's face." He reached for me. I stepped back. His hand hung in the air between us, trembling. Another flash of lightning, and then something crashed inside the house. We both turned. Screams echoed from the hallway. I ran first. Past the overturned chairs, past the spilled champagne. At the top of the staircase, guests huddled, pointing toward the study. The door was wide open, and there, on the floor, beneath the shattered glass of a whiskey decanter, lay Adelina, unconscious, blood streaked across her temple. For a heartbeat, the world froze. Then I heard my son shouting for help. Someone calling an ambulance, someone else blaming the storm. But Harrison just stood there, staring at her like he'd seen a ghost rise and die all over again. I looked at him, and for the first time I wasn't sure if he was shocked or guilty. The paramedics arrived minutes later, taking Adelina away under flashing red lights. They said she'd live, a concussion, a fall, that's all. But the way Harrison avoided my eyes told me there was more. Because before they carried her out, I'd seen something glint in her hand. A gold ring. His. And now it was missing from his finger. I closed the balcony doors that night and locked them. The rain kept falling, tapping the windows like a warning. Downstairs, police lights faded. The guests were gone. In the mirror, I saw a woman I barely recognized. Calm, composed, dangerous. Tomorrow was the wedding, and whatever had started with lies would end with truth. But one thought wouldn't leave me. If Adelina didn't fall, then who pushed her? Rain was falling in thin silver lines over the church courtyard, slow, deliberate, like the sky itself was mourning. The wedding light still flickered against the soaked grass, casting reflections that looked like ghosts of what had just happened. I stood alone near the stone archway, tie half loosened, hands trembling. Inside, the laughter had turned to whispers. And those whispers had turned into judgment. Kalani's words were still echoing in my head. "You betrayed me, Dallas. You betrayed us." Her voice had cracked halfway through, but the silence that followed hit harder than any scream. I lit a cigarette, something I hadn't done in years, and watched the smoke dissolve into the rain. My badge felt heavier in my pocket. My whole life built on secrets. And tonight it collapsed in front of everyone I ever loved. Then I heard her voice. Calm. Too calm. "You never were good at hiding, were you?" Regina. She was standing near the church door, her violet skin faintly glowing under the wet moonlight. Her silver hair clung to her cheeks, and even now, after everything, she looked heartbreakingly unreal. "You shouldn't be here," I said, my voice rough. "Oh, Dallas," she whispered, stepping closer. "I was always here. You were the one pretending." I turned away. "You exposed me. You ruined everything." Regina laughed softly, a sound that used to melt me, but now just burned. "I didn't ruin anything. I just told the truth. You think you could live with one woman while dreaming about another?" Her words sliced through me. "You were part of a mission, Regina. You weren't supposed to feel anything." She took a deep breath, and for a moment her eyes glowed brighter. "Maybe that's where you're wrong. Maybe I learned emotions from you, but you never learned honesty from me." I looked at her, drenched, trembling. "Do you even know what your little stunt cost me?" She smiled bitterly. "Everything you stole from me." There was a flicker of blue light in her palm, a holographic cube materializing between her fingers. Inside it, my entire lie played out like a confession, my secret missions, my contact logs, and the night I promised her I'd come back. I froze. "You recorded me?" Regina nodded. "Every word." Before I could respond, a voice behind us broke the air. "You don't need to explain, Dallas. I already saw it." I turned, and there she was, Kalani. Her face was streaked with tears, mascara running down her cheeks. But her eyes, they weren't weak anymore. They were cold, determined. In her hand, the microchip, the same one I thought I'd destroyed. "You lied to me about the operation," she said, voice shaking. "You used me to cover your tracks." I took a slow step forward. "Kalani, I was trying to protect you." "Stop lying," she screamed, the word echoing through the empty courtyard. "You weren't protecting me, you were protecting her." Regina's smirk faded. The three of us stood there, human, alien, and something in between. The storm above us cracked with lightning, like even the sky was holding its breath. Kalani dropped the microchip into a puddle. It sizzled, short-circuited, but I knew deep down that it didn't matter. Regina had backups. She always had backups. Regina stepped closer, whispering near my ear. "By tomorrow night, every network will know who you really are. Undercover cop, traitor, lover. The world deserves to see the real Dallas." I closed my eyes. "If you release that file, you'll destroy everything we built." She smiled. "That's the point." And just like that, she turned, walking away into the storm. Kalani didn't move. She just looked at me one last time and whispered, "You can't fix this, Dallas. Not this time." When they were both gone, I sank to my knees. Rain pouring, cigarette extinguished, heart hollow. But then, through the static in my comm link, a faint voice buzzed, "Agent Dallas, the alien isn't the only one with secrets. File Zeta still active." I lifted my head, eyes wide. File Zeta. The one I swore didn't exist. My hands clenched. The game wasn't over. Rain had stopped, but the air outside that church still felt heavy, like even the wind knew what had happened inside. Reporters were swarming the parking lot, cameras flashing, guests whispering. My name was already trending, not as a cop, but as a liar. I walked out through the side door, jacket soaked, mind numb. Every step echoed with the sound of Kalani's voice from last night. "You didn't just cheat on me, Dallas. You destroyed us." Those words wouldn't leave. They kept cutting deeper every time I breathed. When I reached the car, a voice came from behind. "You think it's over?" I turned. Regina. Her perfume hit first, same one from years ago when she'd walked out on me. Except this time, she wasn't here for love. "You planned everything," I said quietly. "The call, the leak, the video, all of it." "I warned you, Dallas," she said. "You should have left before you married her." She took a slow step closer. The look in her eyes wasn't love anymore. It was revenge wearing a pretty face. I clenched my fists. "You wanted to ruin me? Congratulations. You did." Regina tilted her head slightly. "No, I didn't ruin you. She did. I just showed her who you really were." For a second, I almost believed her. Then I saw the black flash drive in her hand. "What's that?" "Insurance," she said. "Proof of everything. Your undercover life, your fake name, the money you took from evidence lockers. Every lie you've lived." She smiled, soft but deadly. "And tonight, the police department gets a copy. Maybe your wife won't be the only one who hates you." Before I could react, a sharp click echoed. Kalani was standing a few feet away, gun in hand, shaking but steady. "Drop it, Regina." Regina froze, her smile fading. "Oh, sweetheart, you really think you know who he is?" Kalani's hand trembled. "I know enough." "No," Regina said slowly. "You know what he told you, but not what he did for me." Kalani's finger twitched on the trigger. I could see her heart breaking in real time. "You used me," she said, voice trembling. "Both of you." "Kalani, please." I took a cautious step. "I didn't mean for any of this to touch you. I got in too deep. I tried to stop her before she leaked everything." "Stop me?" Regina laughed. "Dallas, you begged me to keep quiet after you framed that senator. You wanted to be the hero, the perfect cop, the perfect husband. Until your lies ran out." I felt my stomach drop. The truth was bleeding out faster than I could stop it. "She's lying," I said to Kalani. "Everything I did was to protect you." Kalani's eyes filled with tears. "Then why does it hurt like hell to hear it?" Silence. Just rain dripping from the church roof, and 3 broken hearts standing in the dark. Then sirens. Red and blue lights flashed at the end of the road. Someone had called it in. Regina smirked. "Looks like your confession's about to go public." But before she could move, Kalani fired. The bullet hit the ground near Regina's feet. She screamed, dropping the flash drive. I lunged forward, grabbed it, and shoved it into my pocket. The cops were getting closer. Regina turned and ran, disappearing into the trees, her dress torn, her plan in flames. Kalani stood frozen, gun still shaking. "What did I just do?" I stepped closer, holding her face in my hands. "You saved me." She looked up, eyes full of pain. "No, Dallas. I saved what's left of the man I used to love, not the cop, not the liar." She stepped back, lowering the gun. The police arrived, shouting orders, flashlights cutting through the night. Kalani whispered, "They're going to arrest you, aren't they?" I nodded slowly. "Maybe it's time I stop running." As the officers cuffed my hands, I glanced one last time at her. She didn't look angry anymore, just exhausted. Done. Regina's silhouette was gone into the woods. The flash drive in my pocket burned like guilt. Maybe someday I'd tell the truth. Maybe I already had. The rain started again, quiet, steady. And as they pushed me into the car, I realized the cruelest thing about secrets. They never die. They just wait for the perfect wedding day to show up.